God, we pray that you would come amidst us, God, that your presence would be known in our lives, God. God, I pray that you get me out of the way, God, that your message, your words become alive to us, God. Help us to understand what you're trying to communicate to us, God. God, I pray that we would choose lives that would glorify you, that we would choose lives that would praise your name, that your name would be made great in our lives, God. God, we thank you for Christ. We thank you for everything that you're doing in our lives, God, and even the tough things that you're doing in our lives right now, God. We pray that help us to understand the purpose and reason of these things. Help us to cling to you. Help us to rely on you. God, help us through the crises in our lives, God. Lord, we thank you for all the things that you do. We love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Well, welcome to New Life. My name is Andy. I'm one of the pastors here. It's just so beautiful outside. I know we kind of have the shades down, but I love the summer. Who else here is like a huge summer fan? Okay, I used to hate the summer. Now I love the summer. And, you know, besides like the pool, you guys all know, like, I mean, I got really burnt, kind of itchy today. So I went to the pool too long. But one of the things that I love about the summer is I love to be able to take walks. My wife and I, and let me preface with this. I love hanging out with you guys. I love a lot of things about my life. But the thing that I love more than anything else is I love an opportunity to spend time with my wife. And I look forward to it the whole day. I'm like, I get a chance to go on a walk with my wife. And we have this little route. It's like right down Kelso, if you guys know where that's at. Then we make a little left on Indianola, then we come down Tulane. It's only about like 15 to 20 minutes, but it's just my favorite part of the day. And what I've realized about and we live in Clintonville, what I realized about Clintonville is that it seems like everybody has a dog. Like absolutely everyone has a dog. And if you don't know anything about me, you probably, I'm a little bit afraid of dogs. Like I used to be, Megan, you know what I'm talking about. I used to be petrified of dogs. And here's the story. All right, imagine this. I'm 6 years old. I'm on my neighbor's driveway, and we're just playing tennis. My neighbor is like a couple years older. We're playing tennis. We're having a good time. I'm probably trying to win because that's what I do at all times. So I'm like trying to win playing tennis. And all of a sudden, I hit the ball, and she just her face turns ghost white. She drops her racket and just goes charging inside. And I look back, and there's this black shadow running, charging at me, and then it starts barking. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck's going on? It's like literally within inches of my tail, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm just like, I'm gonna run. And at that point, I thought I was the fastest 6-year-old of all time. My little legs are pumping like pistons. I'm flying, I run across our little, patch of grass, and I run to the back door. We got a back door, and I'm trying to get the door open, but my mom always has it locked for some reason, so it's locked, and I'm pounding on the door, I'm crying out, and this dog is charging up the steps. So I'm like, I've got no choice. I got to run back. I go to the garage door. We don't have an electric garage door at this time. We had the old where you have to lift. I'm 6 years old. How am I supposed to lift this heavy wooden garage door? So I'm like, that's not going to work. So I'm running across my driveway and her driveway, and I bolt it into her garage, into her door. I'm safe and sound. But this dog, you have to remember, this dog was not just any dog. This dog was a Doberman Pinscher. If you guys know, I know there's some people who are like, oh man, you can train Doberman Pinschers, they're great. But this dog had huge fangs, and Dobermans, if they're not trained well, they are crazy, and they are aggressive, and they're angry, and they're like the dogs of the Holocaust, and this dog is charging at me. So I bring that up because I feel because for me that was one of my first moments of crisis at a very young age. And I feel like we all have moments of crisis. We either all will have, or we all have had some moments of crisis. These moral dilemmas, or relational strife, or some chaotic situation that happens in our life. And the question that we're trying to answer today is, how do we react in these moments? Like, what are we supposed to do when crisis happens? Because maybe if you haven't had any moment of crisis in your life, right now you're like, my life's just good. I'm just going to throw something out. I guarantee that there will be a moment of crisis at some point in your life. And so we all have to be able to answer this question. What are we going to do? How are we going to react when these moments happen? So we're going to be in 1 Samuel 24 today. But before we kind of enter into the passage, we are going to be looking at the life of David, and we're going to be looking at a moment of crisis in his life. And we're going to see two things. And this is the first thing. It's the first thing in your bulletin. And it's that David chooses what is right rather than what is convenient. David chooses what is right rather than what is convenient. So let me kind of catch you up on what is going on here. The first week we talked about how David's just a shepherd. Samuel comes in, he's basically like, I want to anoint you as king. David goes back to the sheep. Then Ed talked about 2 weeks ago about how basically David goes up to the battle lines. He sees like Goliath basically taunting the Israelites. And David's like, what the heck? I'm going to go and fight Goliath. David fights Goliath, beats Goliath. Then all of a sudden David has a lot of fame. Then David goes and he marries the king's daughter. Then he becomes best friend with the king's son. But through all of this, the king, Saul, gets pretty jealous because David has all of his fame. And Saul tries to go and kill David. So what does David do? It's like fight or flight. He's like, I'm out of here. So David goes and flees. Basically, he leaves his wife behind. He leaves his family behind. He leaves his best friend behind. And Saul is chasing him through the desert. So this is kind of where we are connecting to the story. David is in the desert. He's got no shelter. Probably doesn't have a lot of food. He has, just a little, probably doesn't have much water. He's kind of gathered this group of guys who are kind of like the outcasts. He's like with a bunch of stinky guys. And he's probably thinking, man, if only I wasn't anointed as king, if only I wouldn't have fought Goliath, if only I could just be back as a shepherd with my family, like in some green pasture. But instead, he's here. This is a picture from Petra. It's kind of the same general area of where he's at. Just imagine that. That's where he's hiding out. There's not a lot of green there. Not a lot of water there. Just a bunch of rock with 400 sweaty, stinky guys. So we're in 1 Samuel 24. So this is where we're picking it up. In 1 Samuel 24:1. Now when Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, saying, behold, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi. And Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel and went to seek David and his men in front of the rocks of the wild goats. He came to the sheepfolds on the way where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the inner recesses of the cave. The men of David said to him, behold, this is the day of which the Lord said to you, behold, I am about to give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it seems good to you. Then David arose and cut off the edge of Saul's robe secretly. It came about afterward that David's conscience bothered him because he had cut off the edge of Saul's robe. So he said to his men, far be it from me because of the Lord that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him, since he is the Lord's anointed. David persuaded his men with these words and did not allow them to rise up against Saul. And Saul arose, left the cave, and went on his way. So you have to think that David has lost everything from this guy. And here the guy is sitting, he's being relieved. I don't know what that means exactly. Let's just say he's vulnerable, he's in a vulnerable state, and he's back in this cave, and here David has a chance to take him out, and he's with his 400 guys who are also on the run with him, and his 400 guys are like, David, take him out. Come on, he's right there. But what does David say? David says, I will not take out the Lord's anointed. I will not hurt the Lord's anointed. I will not get the throne in this way. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I would make that decision. Like seriously, this guy is chasing you through this stinking desert. Like this guy is in the way of David actually getting the throne, and here he is vulnerable. What would you guys do? What would you guys do in that situation? You got him right there. This is the guy who's your enemy. Right there. David won't do it. David chooses to have integrity. David chooses to do what is right. He follows his conscience instead of basically killing him, instead of doing what is convenient. He goes against every part of who we are, every aspect of our culture. What we see in our culture is this culture of pragmatism. You do what works. The end justifies the means. Usually our end in our culture is happiness. So, hey, as long as it makes you happy. As long as it makes you happy, that's great. Whatever you want to do, I'm not going to get in your way. Even if it's wrong, as long as you're happy, the end justifies the means. That's what we see in our culture. And usually what makes us happy is the convenient route, is the easy route. And I have a story of a friend. He came to Ohio State as a freshman. He was the freshman who had the fake ID. He was the guy who could buy alcohol for everybody. And everyone was like, oh man, you're so awesome. You can buy alcohol. You're a freshman. What? Like, you're a god. What the heck? And he could connect to people, and he was connected to all these parties. He was the guy. He was the guy as a freshman where you're like, I want to be friends with this guy because this guy has the in, and he's going to get me to where I want to be. And so that's who he is. And basically that's what he wanted to do. Then he got connected to a couple people from New Life, and he started realizing maybe this isn't the path I should be pursuing. He started, experiencing a little bit of freedom in Christ and started walking out of that lifestyle. And all of a sudden his friends were like, what the heck? Why aren't you buying beer for us anymore? Why aren't you drinking with us anymore? Why aren't you with us anymore? And they started to shun him. They basically said, I don't think we're going to be friends anymore. Even to the point where his dad looks at him, and his dad is like, I want you to be popular. His dad's like, I will write you a check. I will write you money. I will give you money in order to leave this new thing that you're doing and go back into what you're doing. And my friend, unfortunately, that's hard. It's hard to leave friends behind. It's hard to leave some of that lifestyle behind. I get that. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more convenient to kind of slide back into, just being friends with everybody. And that's what he ended up doing. The last couple of years of his college experience, he basically, he pursued a lifestyle that he knew, deep down, he knew it wouldn't satisfy. He knew it actually wouldn't make him happy, but that's just what he slid back into. Took the easier path. I think we see this not only as a culture, and we see this not only on this campus, but I think we see this even as kids. I think if you look at kids, they want what they want when they want it, and I see that even in ourselves. When it was 1988. I know some of you guys weren't even thought of at that time, and your parents weren't even together at that time in 1988. Just shows how old I am. But it was 1988, and Wendy's had this incredible thing going on where basically they're supporting the World Wildlife Fund. And at the World Wildlife Fund, they basically just kind of you buy this kid's meal, and you got the stuffed animal, and you got this book. But these books, I didn't care about the stuffed animal. I had a whole bedroom of stuffed animals. So I was like, I don't need the stuffed animal. I want the book. That just shows how much of a nerd I am. I'm sorry. But the books they had a snow leopard, they had a tiger, a koala bear, and a panda bear. Those are the options. And we went to Wendy's, and I got the tiger, I got the koala bear, but the one that I really wanted And the one that I think that was the most rare was the panda bear. And I was like, I want this panda bear so bad. Like, I tried looking and finding a picture of the book. It was nowhere to be found because I don't think it exists anymore. I don't think there are any surviving copies. I looked on eBay, but you had to imagine there's this like awesome picture of this panda bear. It was incredible, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want this book so bad. I asked my mom, but it's like, no, we're not going to go to Wendy's just to buy a book. I'm like, come on, like I want. So, anyways, I'm in preschool. And I've got like my little like satchel, and like I put all where you put all your homework and your projects, whatever projects you have as a preschooler, like pasting and whatever. But yeah, I have all my projects in this little satchel, and then I'm gonna go and look at one of the books and read, and there it is. It's as if like the light was shining on it. I'm like, there's the panda book. Oh my gosh! And I'm like, I gotta have this. Like it's right there. Like I know this is probably wrong, but I gotta have this book. Like I gotta have it. Like no matter, I have to have. So I take the book and I'm like, look around, slide it in my satchel, and like no one's gonna know. I get home, I immediately run upstairs, take the book out. My mom has no idea, and I put it in like my little bookcase. To this day, I don't think my mom knows that I stole a panda book. But like I knew it was wrong, but I had to have it. Like I wanted what I wanted when I wanted it. And this is the crazy thing is I actually never got to enjoy the panda book because it was contraband. It's not like I could just pull that book out and like read it at any point. Like I couldn't even enjoy it. But don't we all do this? Like don't we all choose what is convenient? Don't we all choose what is easy? Don't we all choose what we want instead of what is right? Don't we all do this? Like we must choose the hard right over the easy wrong. We must choose the hard right over the easy wrong. That the only way that we will live a life of integrity is to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. And it actually has its benefits. If we continue in the passage, basically David, Saul walks out of this cave, and David, he cut this part of his robe, and he walks out, and he's like, Saul, what the heck, man? Why are you chasing me? Like, am I a dog? Like, why are you treating me like this? I even cut off a piece of your robe. Like, I could have taken you out. Like, why are you doing this? Like, I had some integrity here. What the heck? And this is what you find in verse 16. When David had finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" Then David lifted up his voice and wept. Then Saul lifted up his voice and wept. He said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have dealt well with me, while I have dealt wickedly with you. You have declared today that you have done good to me, that the Lord delivered me into your hand, and yet you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him go away safely? May the Lord therefore reward you with good in return for what you have done to me this day. Now behold, I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hand. So now swear to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's household." So Saul, after this act, Saul affirms David's future success because of his integrity. Like Saul is looking at him and he's like, "Dude, I know I've treated you poorly, but you have treated me well. Like you did the right thing. Like who has an opportunity to take out their enemy, but they don't do it?" He even affirms the fact of David being king. Imagine this. This is the king who's literally looking at the guy who's going to usurp his throne, and he's like, "You're going to be king someday because I see your heart. I see your heart of integrity, and you're going to become the king someday." He recognizes that. He affirms that in him. And guys, pleasures will come and go. These things that we want will come and go, but integrity will last forever. There's this article that I found in Forbes magazine. And sometimes you kind of think like, Forbes is kind of like this business magazine. What are they going to have in there about integrity? But this is what the article said. The article says, "It may seem like people can gain power quickly and easily, if they are willing to cut corners and act without the constraints of morality. Dishonesty may provide instant gratification in the moment, but it will never last. I can think of several examples of people without integrity who are successful and who win without ever getting caught, which creates a false perception of the path to success that one should follow. After all, each person in the examples above could have gained the result they wanted in the moment, but unfortunately, that momentary result came at an incredibly high price with far-reaching consequences. That person has lost their ability to be trusted as a person of integrity, which is the most valuable quality anyone can have in their life. Profit in dollars or power is temporary, but profit in a network of people who trust you as a person of integrity is forever. Every one person who trusts you will spread the word of that trust to at least a few of their associates, and word of your character will spread like wildfire. The value of the trust others have in you is far beyond anything that can be measured. For entrepreneurs, it means investors that are willing to trust them with their money. For employees, it means a manager or a boss that is willing to trust them with additional responsibility and growth opportunities. For companies, it means customers that trust getting more and more business. For you, it means having an army of people that are willing to go the extra mile to help you because they know that recommending you to others will never bring damage to their own reputation of integrity. Yes, the value of the trust others have in you goes beyond anything that can be measured because it brings along with it limitless opportunities and possibilities. So integrity has its benefits. That we can be, when we are people of integrity, that we are people that can be trusted. That people can see that heart in us. And basically Saul is looking at David's heart of integrity and seeing like, this guy can be trusted and this guy is going to be king. Like, look at his heart. So the question that we have to ask is, well, where does this heart, where does David's heart of integrity come from? And this is the second point in your bulletin. Well, number 2 is that David trusts in God no matter what the circumstance. David trusts in God no matter what the circumstance. If you want to flip with me to Psalm 31, that's where the psalm we're going to kind of be in. And in Psalm 31, verse 9, David says, "Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye is wasted away from grief, my soul and my body also. For my life is spent with sorrow, and my years with sighing. My strength has failed because of my iniquity. My body has wasted away. Because of all my adversaries, I become a reproach, especially to my neighbors, and an object of dread to my acquaintances. Those who see me in the street flee from me. I am forgotten as a dead man, out of mind. I am like a broken vessel, for I have heard the slander of many. Terror is on every side, while they took counsel together against me. They schemed to take away my life." So here, this is how David feels in this situation. He is being chased around, and this is how he feels. And I think that's always important to kind of look at how you feel, like your feelings are valid. This is valid. This is how he feels. And here he's crying out, and he's basically like, God, be merciful to me. He's in extreme distress. In verse 9, his eyes are growing weak with sorrow. Have you ever had that moment where you've cried so much that your eyes start hurting? His soul and his body is in grief. His life is consumed by anguish. But that's what his life is consumed with, is his circumstance and his situation. His strength fails because of his affliction. He's at this point of like hopelessness. He's got no strength to go forward. Have you ever had those days where you wake up and you're like, I don't know if I can move forward today? His bones grow weak. He's a dread to his friends. He feels like he's absolutely lonely. Like his friends have left him. Even the people in the street are fleeing from him. Yes, he's with these 400 stinky guys, but he is not with his wife. He's not with his family. He's not with his best friend. Those moments where we feel absolutely alone, away from anybody who really knows us. He's like broken pottery. He feels like absolutely broken. He feels like his life is broken. He feels like he's 1,000,000 miles low. That there's terror on every side. He feels like the walls are closing in on him. Like maybe you felt this way. Maybe today you feel this way. You feel 1,000,000 miles low. Or maybe they're just, you can connect with that in a time in your past where you feel like, man, there was a time in my life where, just things didn't go the way I imagined, and go the way that I wanted. You can connect with this pain, this strife, this heartache. And I think we've all kind of experienced this loss in one way, shape, or form, or have experienced pain in some way, shape, or form. And this is David's response. His response in verse 1, he says, "In you, O Lord, I have taken refuge." In verse 2, he says, "Be my rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save me." Verse 3, he says, "Since you are my rock and my refuge, for the sake of your name, lead and guide me." And I think the key part of this, the key part of, if we're going to embrace and grasp onto the heart of David, the key verse is verse 14. If you want to move down, it says, "But I trust in you, O Lord. I say you are my God. My times are in your hands. Deliver me from my enemies and from those who pursue me." Can we imagine this? David is being chased through the desert. He's lost everything. And this, he feels all this pain, but yet this is his response. He's like, "I will trust in you. You are my God. My times are in your hands. I will trust you to bring me out of this. I will trust you for my life. I will trust you for my future. I will trust you to bring me out of this." That no matter what the circumstances that life brings you, whether things right now are absolutely great. I heard this a long time ago, that you're either going into a trial, going out of a trial, or in a trial. So maybe you're just in that period where you're out of a trial. This is great. Or maybe you're coming into one, or maybe you're dead set in one. But no matter where you're at in your life, no matter what the circumstances, this is the heart that we have to have, is that we are saying, "God, I trust you, no matter what." We see this same kind of trust in the life of Christ as well. In Matthew 26, Christ is in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's sweating blood. He knows what's going to happen to him. He knows that he's going to the cross. He knows that he is going to experience excruciating pain through crucifixion and through beating and through things that I can't even imagine. But then on top of that, he knows the emotional pain that he's going to have of literally having his dad have to turn his back on him. Then he knows the spiritual pain of actually receiving the wrath and all of the pain and all the brokenness and all of the corruption and all the sin of us on himself. And then he's experiencing the relational pain of knowing that his closest friends are going to turn their back on him. One of them is actually going to be the one who's going to betray him. And here he is in the garden. He is sweating blood. He's in pain. He's thinking about his circumstances, and he's like, "I don't want this to happen." How he feels is he feels the same way probably David feels. And in that moment, he's like, "God, Father, will you take this cup?" But then his next line is "Father," basically if it's not your will, then I just want to do your will. I will trust you no matter what the circumstances. Then you kind of fast forward in that story, and basically Jesus is betrayed. And then Jesus says all these guys are coming with clubs and spears and swords, and he's like, "Why are you bringing spears and swords? Why are you bringing an army?" It's don't you know I could just bring call my angels and they would come and fight for me? You have to imagine, Jesus knows he's going to be king someday. Just like David. Jesus knows that he's going to be king someday. He knows that that's in his future. And here he is, he's going to be entering into one of the most difficult situation that anybody has probably gone through. He knows he could just call the angels and this whole thing would be all right. But he's like, "No, I will trust in the Father. I will trust in the Father with my future. I will trust in the Father with my life. Like Jesus chose the hard right over the easy wrong, and thank God that He did, because it allows us to be reconnected to the Father. Jesus chose the hard right over the easy wrong. So what does it look like for us? What does it look like for us to have integrity here and now in our lives? And let me give you a quick story. I was reading online about these 3 college students. These 3 college students are probably typical college students. They're probably not, they're probably going through I saw their apartment. Their apartment was kind of jank, let's just be honest. They went to Salvation Army to buy a couch. If you're going to Salvation Army to buy a couch, you're probably not rolling the dough. They bought this couch for $20. And they're like, this is sweet, man. We got this sweet couch. And they sit on the couch, and the pillows are there's a lot of lumps in these pillows. And they're like, what the heck is going on with these pillows? And so they go and unzip the pillows, and they go in and look in the pillows, and there's these envelopes. They open up the envelopes, and there are stacks of $100 bills in these envelopes. They go and they rip off all the pillows, they lay out all the money, and it ends up being over $40,000 worth of cash in this couch. And they're thinking, oh my, there's 3 students, so you cut it into thirds, that's still about $10,000. And they're probably thinking oh my gosh, I can pay off some college loans right now. I can buy a car, we can get out of this crummy apartment. For me, I am just going to straight 3 months, I'm going around the world nonstop. I'm just going to be traveling, and it's going to be great. But what would you do? You have $10,000 of cash that you found in the couch. What would you do? Wouldn't you'd start imagining, oh my gosh, what would I do with this money? And then they see a name on the envelope. So, little moral crisis now. Do we keep it, or do we find the rightful owner? And they chose the hard right over the easy wrong. Man, that's a tough decision. $10,000 in your pocket. They went and they found the owner. It ended up being this 91-year-old woman. Her husband had stuffed the pillows full of all of their life savings so that she would always know where it's at. And she was laying on this couch, and actually was hurting her back. Obviously, because you have $40,000 of cash underneath her. Her back was hurting, and her kids were like, well, we're just going to throw the couch away and give it away. So they end up still with a $1,000 reward. So you might look at that and be like, man, that was so dumb. But these kids, these college students, people just like you and I, they made a step in the right direction to actually have integrity. And the reality is that every day we have a million of these small choices and these big choices to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. We have a choice over what to watch or not to watch, gentlemen. At 1 o'clock in the morning, we have a choice over what to do at work when no one's watching, when our boss isn't watching, when our peers aren't watching. We have a choice over what to do and how to react when we're angry. We have a choice over what to say or not to say when everyone around us is bashing people around or bashing other people behind their back. We have a choice of what to do when we get a test and it's really hard, or there's a deadline coming and we need that A. Should we cheat? Should we not? Should we cut the corner? Should we look over at the guy next to us who's almost done? We have a choice over what to put on our resumes, whether to be honest or whether to fabricate or embellish. We have a choice. Today we have choices. Today we have the choice to choose to start building a life of integrity. Maybe you might ask the question, well, why? My life's been great. I've kind of just done my own thing, and so far so good. Life is good. I've had no problems. But let me ask you a few questions. Like, what will happen when crisis hits? Kind of when the stuff hits the fan. Will you come undone, or do you have something to trust in? I think a life without integrity is like driving over a bridge that you don't know if it'll hold. All these choices are like small little cracks, small little fissures in the bridge. And when the pressure comes, you're asking the question, will it hold? Will it withstand? Like, can you imagine living a life like that? Not knowing that when crisis comes, it's going to hold. Gosh, I can't imagine that. Today is the day. Today is the day to start choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. To choose what is right rather than what is convenient. To start putting our trust in God through all circumstances. To start trusting in God. To develop the integrity in us. Today is the day. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then I'm going to ask the band to come up. A couple questions just to lead out with is, what are you putting your trust in? If it isn't Christ, if it isn't God, what are you putting your trust in? When that crisis happened, what are you putting your trust in? And the second question is, in what ways have you been compromising your integrity? In what ways have you been compromising your integrity? As I've been preparing this message, I am realizing a lot of those small choices that I make that really don't lead to a life of integrity. And I'm like, man, it's kind of bad. So what ways have you been compromising your integrity? So I'm going to ask the band to come up. Just kind of pray for us. Maybe some of these things are just things that you can write on your prayer card. The little pink card in your bowl. The Heavenly Father, God, I pray, that you would give us a heart of integrity, God. Lord, we would trust you in all these circumstances, God, in all these situations.